The most important thing that we need to realize in this space and time that most of us get it wrong when it comes to picking light readers. Welcome. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time being here, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that every time when you upload a new video, YouTube will be able to notify you. Question: why is it that we get it wrong when we are electing leaders? It doesn't matter whether it is within the political space or whether within the church or even within secular institutions. A lot of us get it wrong in picking right leaders. Now, the presentation today will be able to discuss in a clear and a simple way on do's and don'ts that we need to follow so that we can be able to elect right leaders. If you look at the recent happenings within our country, they are all centered on that we elected the wrong person. I don't know, maybe that is the assumption, but the question is, can we avoid this mistake? What is it that we need to do and not do so that we end up electing the right leader? Our discussion is still continuing on what transformative leaders do, and we've said it that transformative leaders, number one, they are prayerful, they prepare for opportunities. Number three, they share vision with others. Number four, they persevere during tough times. And then we say they are cooperative. In other words, they are team prayers. If you would want to watch these videos, please go to Marketplace Media, our YouTube channel, please, and watch and comment and like. And if you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. So let's ask the question today: why is it that we are always get it wrong when it comes to electing leaders? You know, we need to say it right here that we don't have a messiah, one leader who has it all, one leader who is perfect. That one is not possible. You know, all of us have got gray areas. You know, with each election that comes, whether it is within the church setting, whether it's within the business or secular setting, we are presented with a challenge. We have saints and we also have what we call sinners. And the biggest question that we are presented with during the voting when we go to cast a ballot is, who is the saint and who is the sinner, and what is it that we can do so that we can be able to tell the difference between the two? Now, the majority of the way that we end up electing leaders is what we call democracy. Democracy can also be known as mob rule. And by the way, if you're thinking that is a bad rule, that is the way Adolf Hitler got into power, and a lot of dictators actually, that's the way they get into power. You know, we would want to ask ourselves a very one question, and the question is, why is it, or how comes that we end up electing the wrong leader into power? What is it that we look for? Is it that we look for wrong traits, or is it that we do not know what to look for when it comes to leadership? Now, there are two interesting articles that we'd highly recommend. One is by Dakuku Peterside, where he says why we may elect wrong leaders in 2023, and this is an analysis during Nigeria's last year election in 2023, and his observations are actually based from 100 elites whom he interviewed. Then there is another article done by a Kenyan, that is Michael Ochula, that was done in 2022, and the name of the article is Why Kenyans Will Still Elect Without Integrity. And we want to look at the reasons that they have proposed on why we end up electing bad leaders. You may agree with this, you may not agree, but among the reasons why Kenyans and most Africans and a lot of us end up electing bad leaders into office is because of what we call selling the birthright. a lot of us, especially within the Africa setting, come from a poor background. Our economic status are wanting, our pockets are dry, and during election there is one characteristic of dishing out money. And when politicians are running around our constituencies, what they do is they are in a business of dishing out money. If they are not dishing out money, what they are doing is that they are buying votes from the electorate. And very interesting is that people are excited, and people suffer from what we call a Esau's syndrome, that they are willing to sell their birthright, they are willing to sell their vote, without minding what will happen tomorrow, without caring whether that leader will be able to take care of their interest. We're interested in what we are going to do, what we are going to eat today, rather than what sacrificing today so that we can have a bright tomorrow. Then there is the whole issue of what we call mutu wetu factor. In the mutu wetu factor, this is where decisions on who to vote are mostly based on tribal or religious, or basically on tribal or religious affiliations. We want to look for someone who is closer home, and the politicians, now that they know that mutu wetu factor is a strong deciding factor, what they do is that they divide the electorate into our people and mtu wetu and wale wengine, and you hear them running around and ranting wale watu wengine wa upande ule mwingine. You hear them say that, and when we politicize and run our campaigns within those platforms, what we do is that we do not want to betray our people. We do not want to betray somebody who subscribe to our religious affiliations, and so even without interrogating the qualities or the potentiality or the capacity of the leader, we end up electing that person. Then number 3, we also end up electing the wrong person because of what we call aloofness. Now, this kind of aloofness comes from those people who actually fails to go to the ballot and vote. This is what we call voter apathy, where people just avoid the voting booths. You don't see them on standing in the elections line. They simply go about their business. They abscond their voting right. And because of that aloofness and voter apathy, the long leader gets into power because they don't want to go and vote anybody. And this voter apathy, this aloofness comes actually because the last time they elected a person, their desire was not met. The leader they wanted to vote in did not garner enough votes. So they feel is a wasted experience. They do not want to feel wasted, and so they abstain. Number 4, the reason why we don't get the right leader into office is because of hyped promises. That kind of frustration that comes mostly during election times. The politicians have a craft way, and they have a cunning way of running up and down and using up promises. They want to make them loftier. They want to make them big, and it looks like during campaign, what is actually there is not a presentation of manifestation, but actually is a competition of promises. The bigger they are, the juicier they are, the sweeter they are, the greater they are, the greater the potential of the candidate winning. And so the aspirants must be able to look and message their own promises in the most juicy way that they know how. And so with this hyped kind of promise making, once they get into the power, a lot of them, because the promises were only hyped, they were not real, they were not in tandem with the reality, they were not in reality with the economical realities of the day. Much of those promises fail, and the electorates feel frustrated, and they do not want to go back and elect leaders. Now, Another reason why we end up electing wrong leaders is because of ignorance on the politicians' private life. A lot of us, and especially the media, would always want to message and position the person in such a way that he looks good, without giving us an impartial presentation or impartial information about the person. Of course, you do not expect this to happen, given that the politician would go and hire their own media personnel who would want to present them the angel in them without actually giving us an impartial presentation of what they stand for, on areas that they have failed, on their shortcomings, so that we can be able to have an impartial judgment on whether this is the right candidate or wrong. Now, even when the interviews are conducted, most of those interviews, so sorry to speak, are actually biased, and they are bent on presenting the good of that person. Remember that most of these interviews are paid up, unless we are talking about the presidential debates or gubernatorial debates, which are normally not held on this side. But it is only during those debates that we are able to get a honest assessment, that we are able to make a fair assessment, and we are able to make a judgment on whether the candidate is wanting or whether he is the appropriate candidate. And then number 6 is the use of intimidations. A lot of politicians are known, a lot of aspirants would go around to the citizens, actually intimidating them and forcing them to elect in a certain pattern, and voters feel trapped to do the politicians' way. There are instances that we've known that when once somebody the aspirant have become the candidate and have won the election, he or she has actually taught the people who failed to vote him in a lesson. And part of teaching the electorate lesson is actually denying them the rights, denying them the privileges, so that they feel bad, so that next time they feel pushed to the wall to elect such a leader unwillingly. And so I don't know, whatever it is that you think, but those are some of the reasons why we think that we end up losing, or we end up electing the wrong leader. Now, let's say this very important point, that one of the greatest decision, or one of the greatest tasks that faces every leader is to know how to elect the right leader. Somebody by the name of Brian Tracy actually says, as a business owner or manager, that hiring the wrong person is the most costly mistake you can make. And so it is very important, as we interrogate Nehemiah, who is our case study, who is a transformative leader, to be able to understand that Nehemiah was very good at picking the right leader. But maybe we can ask ourselves, when we talk about bad leaders, what is it that we are talking about? We are saying that when we elect bad leaders, that bad leaders or have bad thoughts, and they don't want us to win, and they know how to win, but they do not, they pray to lose. Now, bad leaders are ignorant. These are people who want the ball, but they cannot be able to pray. Bad leaders are insecure. In other words, these are people who have the ball, but they can't pass the ball. Bad leaders are incompetent. In other words, they are people who have the ball, but cannot pray the ball. They are at worst ineffective. They have the ball, but they don't want to improve the way they pray. Bad leaders are idlers. They don't have the ball, but and they do not want to pray, but they don't want to get out of the field. These leaders are bad in the fact that they are inappropriate. Those who want to pray the ball, but keep on breaking the rules of the game. And we have scores, and we have a lot of these bad leaders who are incompetent, ineffective, idlers, inappropriate, insecure, ignorant people who, instead of inspiring others, they would actually do what we call intimidate. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. We encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that every time when YouTube uploads a new video, you will be notified. If it's your first time being here, we encourage you to like and comment and tell us where you're watching us from, and please respond to the question, why is it that we are bad at electing the bad leaders? So let's push the discussion to further and ask ourselves, so what is it that we are supposed to look for when we are electing leaders? When you get into the voting booth, what is it that you need to look for? As aspirants, candidates run up and down campaigning and selling their manifestos and giving us promises, what is it that you need to look for? You may agree with this, but according to us, this is what we believe. Number one, you need to look for C-word, that is credibility. This must be a leader who in the past have walked in the talk, is somebody who have a clean track record, somebody who has kept the word of his mouth, somebody who have walked the talk. You know, we need to say it here, right here, that if the leader has failed in the past, there is a little likelihood that such a leader will be able to do it better. You know, if he was not faithful with the small things, how can we trust him to be faithful over big things? And so it is very, very important for us to be able to do a honest interrogation. We need to go back and archive the things that he did and did not do. We need to interrogate the way they did it then, so that we can have an assessment on whether they are able to do it, the things that they are saying they are going to do. You see, when you look at the way they did it in the past, it's going to give us a bearing, it's going to give us a direction, it can give us an honest assessment and probability and of what they are going to do. So it's always good to look and ask ourselves, are these people credible? Do they have a track record of doing things wrong? Can we did they do things that makes us to trust them? You see, one of the biggest issues around this space is the trust deficit, where a leader presents himself in such a way that we still feel that he is not the right leader. And so looking at the credibility issue is very, very important. Number two, very, very important. And by the way, this list does not follow any order of importance or anything. It's just the things that are coming to our hearts. Number two, very, very important, is what we call servant leadership. When servant leadership is missing, what comes into play is what we call selfishness. Is where somebody is not listening, somebody is a chest thumper, somebody is dumb, somebody does not accept others, somebody is dogmatic, does not want to change stand, somebody uses what we call intimidation, uses force instead of using inspiration. You know, a servant leader is somebody that will go down, is able to listen to the people, is able to share in a positive way, is able to consult, is able to work along with people, because he is a servant leader. By the way, we are lacking when it comes to servant leaders. You know, servant leaders are quick to admit their mistakes. They are willing to ask for advice. They are willing to ask for help. They are willing to share their responsibilities. They are willing to be accountable. They are willing to be interrogated. Their life is an open book. They want to live to serve others. Their goal number one is to promote others. That's why we always say at Marketplace Media, leaders eat last. You know, we have a school of people that actually, instead of eating fast, instead of eating last, they want to eat fast and eat everything. This is not what we call servant leadership. Number three, we need to look for, very, very important, we need to look for what we call Kaizen mindset. This kind of shift, this mental shift, is where you are not, the word that guides your life is not best but better. And that means that you are always growing, you're always improving, you are improving the way you interact with people, you are improving your life, you're improving your the way you think about people, you're improving your leadership style. You keep on growing. They say if you are the best in the class, then you are in the wrong class. You must be in a space where you always feel challenged, you always want to grow, you always want to become better than you are. And a leader needs to be that kind, that when we look at him in the past, we see that there is a trajectory of growth, there is a trajectory, there is growth, there is development, there is improvement, that he is getting better. And then finally, very, very important, we need to look for creativity. Creativity is the willingness to look and hunt to make things better. Just closely connected with growth mindset. It is very, very interesting to note that creative leaders are in short supply. And one of the things that creative leaders do is that they are always in search of a better way of doing things. They always believe that things can be done in a better way. This problem can be solved in a better way. They are always hunting for innovative ways of doing things. What is it that we need to look for when we are looking for a leader? What is it that most people look for when they are electing a leader? This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. This program has been sponsored by Freshworld Computers. Are you looking for a computer? Are you looking for a laptop? Are you looking for live streaming gadget? Are you looking for CCTV installation gadgets? Then look no further. Freshworld Computers are located along Tomboya Street. They are housed in the Dominion House, shop number 10C. You can reach them on 0722 399 091. Freshworld Computers, we've got you. The next time when you go to vote, we are encourage you, vote wisely. Use your vote wisely. Don't sell your vote. Please don't buy the person. Please buy the principles. Vote the principles. Vote the personality, the character of that person. Interrogate the track record. Ask yourself, is this person able to get along with others? Does he or she have trust issues? Is he suffering from trust deficit? And we believe and we encourage you to vote wisely. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana.